Damn, Ingenious made the beat? Yo, welcome to another episode of the Coach Life Podcast Radio. I'm, of course, your host, the Prince of Positivity, Coach Steve. Joined with me, as always, my co-pilot, the Dime Dropper, Coach Luna. How we doing, Brody?
Bless, man. With this topic that we're about to touch on is very, very close to my spirit, man. It's I feel like it's one of the biggest things about the identity that I've pretty much consumed myself with up until this point. But before that, man, I kind of want to just give myself a little pat on the back. I don't do that very often, but just had a feat today. Apparently, this puts me in the 1.9% of the world. Ran 13.1 miles today with a half marathon, man.
For those who don't know what 13.1 miles is, do yourself a favor. Google search 13.1 miles away from your house right now.
A lot of your errands don't even take you that far.
Right. Right. When you go into your local grocery store, he ran past that and for a longer time. So
He went past
I
a few of
just
them.
kept running.
man, you Forrest Gump this one, brother. And congratulations. Well deserved. CEO, founder of the Coach Life Podcast and brand about building your brand. Coach Wash, how we doing, bro?
Yes. That's
Bam,
love.
bam.
Bam, bam,
Sir.
bam.
Yes, sir. Got an interesting one, bro. We got an interesting one. And it's funny because this one came up very organically.
Mhm.
Very organically. This one came up like out of our other podcasts and then obviously our side conversations that we have on a regular basis. And it's interesting because it ties into literally everything that we've touched on in the past 4 podcasts.
Yep.
Dad versus father, or should I say father versus dad, however you want to see it. But we're going to touch and dissect being a father versus being a dad. I think there's 2 very, very different distinctions there that need to be understood by a lot of us as men, that who are fathers and who are dads. We'll make that clarification shortly. As we do with most of our topics, with probably 90% of our topics, we got to dissect it some kind of way.
Mhm.
I'm gonna 2-hand pass this one over to you, Coach Luna. We're gonna put it back on you this time, right?
All
Because
right.
this is a good one for you, partly because if anybody's been tracking, which I hope you all have, Coach Luna has a very interesting story when it comes to fathers. So if you've been tracking, you'll understand where we're going with this. So, Coach Luna, can you give us your definition, sir, of father versus a dad?
All right. So, father versus a dad. To me, anyone can be a father, but it takes a special man to be a dad. And what I mean by that is that there's characteristics genetically and just by sexually you can end up being a father.
Mhm.
But then doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be a dad. Doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to do the things that the quality things that a dad does, and teaches and raises you and things of that nature. Before we go into the specifics about my past, the qualities of a dad, man, vary from a person's point of view, based off of past experiences and what you may think if you didn't have your dad, if you didn't have your father in your life, and you see someone that does have their father, And you may think that your dad may be lacking in certain areas because, I watch so and so's dad and they're this way and they're this way. And you can easily get trapped into a mindset of comparison at a very young age, especially when you don't know no better.
Mhm.
And you start seeing so and so's driving this, so and so's driving that. Again, we're talking about the mind of a child at a very young age. But as I've gotten older, I was able to see so much and learn so much from my stepdad, who I call dad, that taught me so much more, so many more things more valuable than I can attach a dollar sign to or a dollar amount to. And it's like when my father made the mistake that he made, few years later, here came my stepdad. And I remember this like it was yesterday, bro. As a child, we were at the park and I kept calling him by his first name. I was like, hey, Alfredo. And he was like, no, hey, start calling me dad. And bro, I literally had no hesitancy. I was like, okay, dad. And from that day forward, I always called him dad. And the reason being, and I look back and I reflect back, the reason being I was able to just go ahead and be okay with calling him dad is because he treated me just like his son. There was no difference in how he treated me. There was no difference in how he loved me. There was no difference in how he saw me. And the lessons that he taught me from a very young age to today helped me become the husband that I can finally be for my wife. Helped me become the man that I currently am because I was able to learn patience, steadfastness, pure love, joy without anger. I was able to learn these things that were opposite of who I naturally and what I naturally feel like. And that to me is a gigantic difference of a dad versus a father. Because I'm genetically wired to be like my father, but I learned everything from my dad.
I want you to put a pin in the genetic side really quick because we're gonna come back to that because there's a topic that I want to touch on that I think ties very well into that now. As hearing you talk about it and hear how innate that is for some of us. So I want to circle back on that. Coach Wash, from your perspective, sir, father versus dad, what is it from your perspective? How do you see the differences there?
I mean, I agree with Coach Luna. I think we all on the same page, but a father's a creator, period. A dad is a farmer. He grows his crops.
Mm.
He puts time in it. Y'all see where I'm going. He produces good fruit. So he encompasses everything that goes along with development and growth to pour back into the world.
Yep. I see what you did there.
That was really good, bro.
I see what you did there.
Yeah.
See, I purposely did this. So again, this is divine intervention. God told me to have Luna go first because the last time we had you go first because you always say you can't follow Luna. I think that was perfectly followed, sir. Perfectly
Couldn't be
followed.
any better way to say that,
Couldn't
bro.
even be
My
exactly.
mind is spinning right now for that.
So we put a pin in something. I want to put a pin in this too. Actually, you know what? No, we're actually going to let's unpackage this a little bit more because we touched on the surface level of this. We talked about a father being a creator, right? The job is just to be a biological contributor. That's about it, right? I'm able to create. And you touched on the dad being more of the farmer, right? This is the person. Now, when you talk about farming, let's talk about from a farmer's mindset. They gotta care about the crops, right?
Got to tend to them.
Care about them and for them, yeah.
Like if we don't care about the crops, if we're not watching it from the elements, right? The storms, if we're not watching it from the animals, you know, or bugs, right? If we're not watching it from people, right? There's a lot of things that we have to do to protect the crop, to make sure that it's able to grow and get the proper, you know, nourishment it needs to provide the nourishment that it needs for everybody else, right? So remember that pen that we talked about? Let's take that other one out a little bit. Let's actually go into that one too. So when I think about a father and I think about a dad, I think about almost like, I want you to think about a wolf. And when a wolf has pups, if any of those pups are weak, what does that wolf do?
They got well. I don't want to say the wrong thing with the wolf because I don't know exactly how they end up raising them, but I know that they try to toughen them up, or they send them, they ship them off. It's one of the two. I know wolves. That wolf pack is kind of, if you
It's
weak,
pretty
you
tight,
got to
right?
go. Yeah.
Exactly. It's very tight. But baby, I correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But again, I'll go talk to my son if he's telling me the wrong thing. But wolves, if they have a pack of pups, and one of them are weak, they usually kill off the weak one.
Yeah, that's right. I knew I wasn't crazy. I was like, I've seen and heard this before.
They kill off the weak one. Why do they kill off the weak one? Because they know
Can't
it
have
won't.
it.
Bring it down.
It's gonna bring down everybody. Everybody, right? To me, that's an animalistic mindset, right? You have to have that kind of mentality being in that type of environment. This
Mm-hmm.
is a kill or be killed type mentality. Either I keep this kid alive or this pup alive. I'm sorry, keep this pup alive, or and risk everything because I have to protect this one solely because the predators are going to attack this one. We talked about this before, right? The enemy attacks you when you're strong and when you're weak, right? It's a good example of a pup being attacked when they're weak. So they either take the chance of keeping it alive or they kill it. For a lot of wolves, there's no thought process in that. It's kill the pup. But like I said before, that's a very animalistic way of thinking, right? We're humans, right? We should be above the food chain, right?
Right.
So we're more than just a creator, right? When I look at a dad, I look at somebody that has an emotional connection that is about to, that's about mentorship, that's being involved in the child's life. You mentioned, Luna, that it was easy for you to go from calling him Alfredo to dad.
Mm-hmm.
It was easy because there was an emotional connection there. There was no emotional connection there. You would have looked at him like, yeah, whatever, Al, and keep it moving.
Right. Especially me. That was my problem because I had an attitude.
But at that point, again, he built an emotional connection with you, and that's something that again a lot of us miss as we're growing up. And you said something earlier too, Luna, and I want to get back to as well when we talked about, that comparison trap where, you see someone else's dad and then you see your dad and they're not doing the same thing that their dad is doing. So you get into that comparison trap. So you don't see all the stuff they're actually doing and providing for you on a regular basis. Like my dad didn't come to all my football games and basketball games and baseball games. He was working. When he could, he came. But more times than not, Coach Watts will tell you he ain't seen my dad in most of the games.
Right.
Yeah, and same thing with Coach Watts. His dad ain't come to all the games. We saw our moms more than we saw our dads.
So
But we knew what it was though. We knew exactly what it was. I knew exactly why I was playing as hard as I was playing in those games because my dad wouldn't allow me to play anything less. So again, it's just it's a different feeling around being a father and then being a dad. And I kind of wanted to make sure that we kind of tied this in because or took that pen out of what you said, because when you talk about just like that innate feeling, like just doing, like as a dad, I don't know about everybody else, but for me, the moment I saw my son, it didn't hit me until the moment I saw my son. The moment I saw my son, that's when it hit me. It was like, okay, I'm dad. You're not a father. You're dad now. Like it immediately hit me. Like a wave rushed over me. Like now it's game time. Like whatever you was doing before, that don't count.
Yeah.
That don't count at all. None of that count. As hard as you thought you was grinding, that don't count. Hard as you thought you was going, that don't count. Everything you thought you were doing, that don't count. Now it starts. It's like
Yeah.
it turned on a different level. And I think when you make that transition and when you start to make that transition, because again, it happens differently for everybody. Because Coach Watts, I'm gonna ask you next. I don't know when it hit you, but let's ask the question. When did it hit you? When did it hit when did you get that wave where it was like, oh, it's game time now? Like, I'm dad now.
As soon as I saw him, soon as he was handed to me, two things happened. I was softened and hardened all at the same time.
It's
It's
crazy,
it's
right?
it's like, yeah, it's like you being careful, and it's like, man, this, I can't even put it into words. But yeah, it's like you get soft, but at the same time, that protective mode turn up more. I need to do everything possible, turn up more. But at the same time, when you got them, everything else just don't matter. Just
Fades.
you just turn you into a little pillow. You dealt with your baby. But and it's still kind of like that now. Like, my kids older, for the audience. I got straight teenagers for the most part. And 7-year-old that's like a teenager. But look, man, yeah, all the little, if you grew up like around toxic masculinity, all the hard stuff, a dad, is them heartstrings gonna get hit, boy. Them heartstrings gonna get hit.
And it hit even harder when you get a daughter. Harder
Well,
then,
both
man.
of us had our daughter second.
Yes.
So, man,
It's funny that y'all say that, bro, because and then what I'm saying about my father, I'm in no way trying to say like my father didn't love me or anything like that.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely not.
no, I just wanted to make that clear for any of the listeners if that ends up being one of the things. But I remember things as a child, bro. I vividly remember things as a child to the point where my sister and my mom would be like, "How do you remember that?"
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we give enough credit to the development of as we are as children
yeah,
and
No,
how much we remember.
I don't know.
I
no.
remember I remember times at the park. I remember times at the grocery store. I remember I remember my spankings. I remember the events that led me to want to hurt my dad because of what I seen. I remember things, not my dad, my father at the time. Um, I remember seeing these things, bro. I remember getting taken. I remember all of that, bro.
Mm-hmm.
And this all happened before the age of 4. And I remember all of it. All of it, bro. I remember when I went ahead and acted like I was sucking on my thumb just to show my mom. And I went right to her because she hated it. She always hated it. So I remember I looked at her and I went and I put my thumb in my mouth And I went and hauled ass as soon as I did it. I remember those things, bro. And what I'm trying to get at here, um, is our interactions as men with the kids, whether you are a dad, whether you're a father, whether you're an uncle, whether you are a cousin, whatever your role may be as a man, you cannot take it for granted. Because especially at those young ages, they are sponges. They are sponges, man, and they remember everything, bro. They remember everything to the point where they will bring it back up to you, and you'll be like, "Dang, I said that."
Yeah.
So you have to be very careful, very meticulous, and very what's the word I'm looking for? Intentional.
There it
Very
is. I was
intentional.
just about to say that.
Yeah.
Very intentional with how you discipline the child, how you talk to the child, and you have to make sure that your what you are speaking is coming from a place of pure love and discipline, man. I really do feel like whenever we venture around and away from those things, is when we start introducing these children to so many different avenues of trauma and you know, all those things that are involved with trauma, man. It can be a very, very slippery slope, bro.
You know what else is?
Hey,
Go ahead, Wash. I got something to add to that too.
I was gonna add to it too. I think one of the biggest things and the key words that needs to go along with dad figures, I would say, is communication. That is underrated for dads. A lot of times it comes from the mom, as far, especially those soft talks. Even when both are there, a lot of times mom ends up being the one that does it. But when dad does it, it's different, especially for males.
Hit
Absolutely.
different. Hit
Especially for
different.
males. When dad has those real talks with you and explain everything you just said, Lona, like the traumas and how you discipline. Like I never got disciplined without a talk, at least from my mom. My dad, because of her talks, I was able to deal with his discipline without necessarily getting to talk from him.
Right.
I just
It's a
understand.
good way to talk. The good way to kind of frame that up, bro.
Yeah, because Steve, no, they two different people. So, so Pops was, as I worded it before, very rough around the edges. So everything was rough. So all that masculinity and that we normally get, I won't say it was necessarily toxic, because it was times where I think I just understood my dad early on, at an early age. So it was a lot of stuff that probably kids today, or even then, depending on, the balance in your household, would probably have some trauma from, that I didn't have like trauma from, just because I understood who he was. And I actually got way more whoopings from my mom as far as disciplinary action. Like I said, it was just a lot of conversations came with it. Dad was like, he cursed me
It's go
out.
time. It's go time.
Wasn't no soft talk. He straight up cursed me out and whooped my tail. Oh, I'll show you how to bleep it, bleep, 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 get over it.
Go time. You know what it
It's
is.
go time. Yeah. But even with memories I had with my dad, the way he communicated, I appreciated it though. But it was a good balance with mom though. It worked. So his was very forward, very direct, and very much, this is what your environment is. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything for you. Because how am I, my mom would argue with him. He straight up be like, you see where we live? Like, he gonna hear it outside anyway. He gonna see this outside anyway. So what I'm preparing him for by trying to soften up everything here. But she had those softer conversations. But yeah, he
Right.
gave me the stuff necessary to survive. moms gave me the stuff necessary to tap, because men can be nurturing, to tap into the nurturing side of what we need to be and how we need
Man,
to come off. But that communication was very important.
that's crazy that you say that, man. Because I've seen I feel like I've seen and felt the switch. And it wasn't like a bad, crazy switch or nothing like that. But like whenever my father did what he did to not be able to be around anymore, um, my mom, bro, she was my disciplinary. Like Maria she was
Yeah.
whooping my ass, bro. Right? And it's funny that you said what you said about a man can be nurturing, because my dad would talk to me. And he would talk to me in a ways that my mother's anger would just go right over my head because my mom is mad at me. I'm not listening to her, right?
Mm.
But he would come in and say, Mijo, listen to me. And he would talk to me. And it never, ever came with an argument, bro. It was always like, man, look, I'm trying to tell you what your mom is wanting. The overall underlying message of why this is happening.
Yeah.
And I was just like, bro, man, it's a beautiful balance how everything like just eventually ended up working out. But that yin and yang, man, I feel like it's so essential to everything, bro. Like the dark and the light, it is real, man. And then whenever you feel like you're lacking, here comes the other thing that comes and picks it up. It's God never leaves you to where you are abandoned, bro. It's like he leaves you balanced. Just recognize where the balance is. Know that I'm there and I'm there as well. You know what I'm saying? I just pulled up Proverbs 3:12 where it talks about the Lord loves discipline. You know what I'm saying? And then there was another verse exactly where it's Hebrews 12:6, for the Lord disciplines those, the one he loves, and he chastises everyone he accepts as his son. So I think about discipline, man, and it's just like that's part of what makes us become the men that we end up becoming. That's why, man, you can't, again, as a role as a man, you can't be afraid to teach these kids the way they need to be taught. Especially from my perspective, and I know I may be jumping the gun here, Steve and Wash, because I know you asked this question last time we talked, Wash, but you talked about my perspective as a I don't have a child yet, and the perspective from my past that helps me and my approach when I come in coaching kids and teaching kids, or even as an uncle, whatever the case may be. I try to treat each kid knowing that they need discipline, and I'm not going to let you go ahead and think that everything's going to be easy. I'm going to be honest with you. And I'm going to want the best for you, but I'm going to need the best from you. Right. And I'm going to demand the best from you, because I don't think you know what your best is. I think you've had an idea what your best may be, but that ain't your best. Your best was just your PR, but that ain't your best. Your best is past that. And then when you reach that, your best is past that as well. You know, and I think that as men, we got to instill that in these kids and just instill that in anybody, and really in any relationship.
Man, there was a lot said in this last 10, 15 minutes that we just talked right now. There was a lot that was said here. I have to circle back on one big key component that both of you guys hit on, and that's communication. I watched some of my cousins, I watched some of my friends, I watched some of them with their parents and how they communicate and if they communicated. The thing that I saw that was different for me, and again, I say this all the time, I was blessed to have this, is that my dad did have these kind of hard conversations like Coach Wash is talking about. He would have those same kind of hard conversations when they needed to be had. And there was no sugarcoating. Everything was, this is what's going to happen. Consequences to actions. It was real black and white. There was no gray area with a lot of stuff. This is real black and white. It can either go this way or it's gonna go this way. You make it go some other kind of way, then you figure something else out that other people ain't figured out, but it's gonna go this way or it's gonna go this way. So you had a real clear understanding of what messing up meant and what the consequences essentially would be from those things. And I look back at my dad and see like why was it very black and white? Why was it very straight and narrow? Why was it very, for a lot of people would say square, right? I never looked at it like that. I always looked at it always in a more of a militant mindset. My dad always had a very militant mindset, even though he wasn't in the military, but a lot of our family were in the military. His dad was in the military. And another reason why he didn't want me to go into the military, because his dad was in the military. So again, like I look at how he grew up and losing dad at an early age, because he lost his dad at an early age, and it was him and four sisters. So him having to take care of the household, being the only male figure in the household, it was like it's nut up or shut up time. Like the switch got turned on right away. Same switch that we talked about, me and Coach Wash just talked about a minute ago when we saw our kid for the first time. His was just now the responsibility side of it turned on faster. So he was instilling a lot of stuff that I didn't understand at an early age, but understood faster than some of my peers, if that made sense. So the structure and discipline was there early. That way, again, I this is just what we do. This is just how you move. But the communication piece was what helped enforce everything. I got more conversations from my dad than I saw from some of my other peers. I don't know if they had those same kind of conversations. Like I would talk to some of my peers like in high school and would hear, would tell them like, yeah, man, like my dad talked to me about stuff like that and stuff like this or whatever the case. Your dad talked about he ain't never talked. My dad will never say nothing to me like that, or never talk to me about this, or never say nothing about this. Like I always found it funny, almost like you don't you don't really know your dad. Well, it's because they had a father. They didn't have a dad. And if you ask them today, a lot of them will tell you that I had a father. I didn't have a dad. My father was there, but he wasn't there.
I was gonna you keep going, coach, or
Oh no, go ahead, coach.
oh no, I was gonna say, man, that trying to say that, because I've heard all the terms before, oh, that's just my sperm donor and all that other stuff. We got to be very careful of using those type of labels, because what that ends up doing is that's still inviting hatefulness and spitefulness in our spirit. And if that is the case, then you have not forgiven.
There
And
it
if you
is.
have not forgiven, then you still have that hardened heart that we talked about in previous pods. And as man, we can't do that, bro, because what ends up happening is we bring that into every relationship that we have, bro.
Mm-hmm.
And we end up poisoning each other, and I made this observation a long time ago. I started looking at like a lot of my friends, and we all gravitated towards each other because we had a common thing, and that was all none of us really grew up with our fathers. So it was kind of funny seeing all that, and then we all kind of all have the same similar philosophy when it came to a lot of things. And then it had to come back to be like, man, what are we bearing? What kind of fruit are we bearing as a community? And that's why, and then that conversation leads me to understanding our role with the different roles that we have attached to us as men. I still remember this like it was yesterday, man. My uncle caught me at his house yelling at my mom. Again, dog, let anybody tell you in my family how I was as a child. I looked like an angel, but I was bad, bro. I was bad. I'm talking about scratching my mama's truck. I'm talking about kicking things over, running in my grandma's house. You name it, I did, right? Well, he caught me yelling to my mom, and I remember this like it was yesterday, bro. He picks me up, hangs me over the fence of the neighbor's thing, and there's dogs over there. And he said, the next time, and the dogs are like jumping up trying to bite me. He said, the next time I hear you yelling at your mom, I'm going to let you go and let them have it. He picks me back over, but I'm over there kicking and screaming. I'm surprised he held on to me because I was that terrified of what was on the other side. But I remember that because immediately, anytime I yelled at my mom, I'm like, bro, you might put me over there and throw me to them damn dogs.
Yeah,
You know
I
what I'm
ain't
saying?
gonna do
Like,
this. I ain't even try
yeah,
this.
man. Like, damn. I hope she don't tell Uncle Fritz. You know what I'm saying? I hope she don't tell. I remember those things, bro.
Mm-hmm.
That's why, man. As a man, you cannot take for granted what your role may be. Take it serious.
The kids are. You said this earlier, man. They are 100%. They're sponges. They are sponges. They remember all of this. They understand more than what you think that they understand. When I tell you, there are times now, like I look at I love my kids, and there's so much like me and my wife. It makes me sick. there's there's so much like us, is it's insane. It's literally like watching ourselves. Sometimes we sit on the couch sometimes and watch them. That's more funnier than watching anything on TV. But I can watch my son and see how he handles a situation, right? Like he'll go in the kitchen, like it's the last waffle, or I ate the last waffle, or Sienna ate the last waffle, and he'll just be like, I really don't want a waffle. Guess I'm eating toast today. So it just that's how he understands it. My daughter,
She getting that last waffle.
who ate the last waffle? And why did they not think about me when they ate the last waffle? Like she finna have a whole breakdown on this on that one piece. But then you think about, like, I go back and I look at what they saw growing up and how much we've changed from, as when I say we, I mean me and my wife, how much we've changed in our relationship. And I think what's missing a lot of times in the development of children is having those continual conversations with them about your own personal growth and where you are, so that way they understand more about how to make the transition. It was hard for me as an adult to make the transition from teenager to young adult to adulthood, because my mom and dad didn't talk to me about money and all the other, like they didn't talk to me about all that stuff. They just took care of stuff. It's like, and the only communication you got was on the being a good person side, but you missed all of the other stuff that would have helped me along a little bit further. But this is stuff that you were learning as you were growing. And as you were growing, you just forgot to teach those pieces also. And I think that's some of the things that we miss as adults. And again, I ain't slamming my mom and dad, but I'm just saying there's things that we grow through that we don't necessarily instill into our kids because we're still growing through it. So we don't feel like we need to teach it because I'm still growing. Well, this is your opportunity still in the growing to teach, because it'll make it easier for them once they start to learn. So,
It's funny that you say that because that's very deep, by the way, man. I actually love that because thinking back, everybody has the birds and the bees conversation.
right.
Everybody has that surface level.
I didn't have that one. I didn't have that one, bro.
Oops.
They actually, my parents tried to have, they ain't call it birds
It was
and
a
bees.
very
It was,
try, but I already knew, and then I was like,
yeah, but by the time they got to me, I was like, oh, you talking about
You're
sex?
so
yeah,
far
that's exactly
past
how it
this,
was.
bro.
I was like, come on now.
Like,
I'm like,
why would you bring this up now?
I'm like, you have no idea what I've been exposed to.
But that's also like that cover all bases, basic level of
Yes.
yeah, it was very, very like save your money, be smart with your money, don't spend what you don't have. Very
Base level. You gotta get a
very
savings account.
base. Yeah, very base.
Make sure you got a car you can pay for every month.
Like
You know what I mean?
and
Just base
it was
level.
very basic, but it's still though, coach. That's one thing we can't take for granted because
Absolutely
how
not.
many people are not even getting that base level
There it
from
is.
their
Yep.
dad or their father? How many of those are not having those conversations?
You're
That's
right,
why I
coach.
said, granted, your role in society.
That's the reason why I said it's important to continue to instill those things because
Absolutely.
you're still learning these. Like, no, who gave you, Coach Wash? You tell me, bro, because nobody gave it to me. I'm still looking for it. Did you get your dad playbook when you got a baby?
What's that?
Exactly.
What's that?
Like,
What's
that's
that?
my point. Like,
Hey, can I find one on Amazon?
right. No, bro, they don't got the clip notes.
Look,
Like,
this is what I did get. This the game I did get because I went to, I think at the time before my son like one Lamaze class or whatever, and then like my in-laws at the time and my parents was like, even my grandparents, all the OGs told me the same thing. They was like, well, you can go to all the classes you want. You can act, even with getting married, like you can talk to as many people as you want. Your marriage ain't finna be what nobody else marriage is.
Yep.
My grandfather said, how you started, that better be how you want to finish. Ain't no room for switch ups. It ain't gonna work.
it is.
He's like, you're gonna grow, but your foundation better be in place. Y'all gonna change, but your friendship better be in place.
And that's the hard part. Again, like we don't take those times in our own relationships, like,
Mhm.
and we don't talk about relationships on this podcast for good reason.
Just
Because
But
it's
just
too many avenues. Everybody
it's way too many avenues. It's way too many avenues. And again, your relationship ain't my relationship. So it's
right.
very different regardless. Again, but I think one thing that's common, and not even just those kind of relationships where it's where two people are together, but just anybody relationships where even friendships, like you're gonna grow. There's gonna get
Mhm.
a point in time where like
You
you
gonna
may
change.
have you gonna change. You gonna be somewhere else where you not on the same level that one of your friends are used to be on, and you got to be okay with that, and they got to be okay with that. Like it's either grow with me or
don't
I
go with.
catch or don't go with me, or I catch you
Yeah,
on the next one, bro.
you switched up on me, bro. Yeah,
No,
I did.
bro,
That's what you're
I grew.
supposed to do.
Exactly, I grew.
You're
Like
supposed to grow. Now you ain't supposed to go backwards. Now we gotta have a different conversation. I gotta check.
absolutely.
But as far as like parenthood, ain't nothing that could prepare you for it. Can't nobody tell you enough. And when you in it, you in it.
And you all the way
People
in it.
say this as far as further down the road, as far as being a dad or a parent in general, you you can only teach what you know.
Mm.
That's another thing. That's another like lane I want to step into. So even though we talk about the conversations that we may have not gotten while our parents are growing and learning things, since we talking about growth as an adult, there's some people that don't grow that have children.
So they've peaked as a parent. They've peaked as a
They
discipline.
peaked as an individual, so you're naturally going to peak as a parent. You
Mm.
have nothing to
Mm-hmm.
offer and contribute. You can't even model. That's another thing. Even if we haven't had the talks, I can definitely say I learned a lot just through observation too,
Facts.
even without a conversation.
Facts.
Coach,
Facts.
that's perfect. You just said that. I just seen a podcast and the dude said this. He said, if you want to see yourself, look in the mirror. No, he said, if you want to see you, look in the mirror. But if you want to see a direct reflection of yourself, look at your child.
Yeah,
Ain't that the truth?
yeah.
Man.
So just like Steve
My
just said it.
son could be an
You
ass,
sit there
bro.
and watch the children like, dang, that is us. You
Look,
sitting on the couch watching a recording of yourself.
my man that got me a couple times, bro. My man got me a couple times, man. I
You
walk in the
just
house.
looking at each other, be like, baby, you see,
Right.
that's you. That's you. That's me.
That exactly.
That's
This
mini
is
me.
exactly it. I
Then,
brought
then
something
you
out.
start then you start using the bad examples to mess with each other. See, that's your attitude right there. You see,
See, that's the problem
that's
right
you
there.
all day.
That's
That's your problem.
that's your problem right there. You did this. That's you right there.
And man, it's funny that y'all say that, bro, because there's been so many times my mom would go ahead and still tell me, man, you act just like your dad. I'm like, how in the world does that make sense? I ain't seen this man in 31 plus years.
You
And
don't
how
have to
Anything
see it.
you was
do I
talking
act
about is
a
real too.
person that I don't even know like that?
I definitely believe in that DNA, even with personality. I very much believe, because even though a lot of people say like, they'll say I'm not like my mom, but then depending on where you take me, they'd be
Gonna
like,
be your dad.
yeah, they'd be like, ooh, that's Junior right there. I'm the third, by the way, podcast family. They'd be like, oh, that's Junior right there. Or if I'm speaking like an old man, they'd be like, oh yeah, that's your grandfather. You know what I'm saying? That's where I got a lot of wisdom from. And he was a preacher. The good parts of me, and I got good parts of me from my father too. Let me put that out there. I'm just gonna say, Pop's different. Pop's different. Now, what he taught me though, without the direct conversations, he modeled change.
Yeah.
Bro, because if you hear all his stories from his childhood and teenage years, and the man that raised me, I'm like, this can't be the same dude. And I watched him change even from, like Luna said, I still have memories to like 2-3 years old. And it's funny you brought that up, because even my mom, I got like an older cousin, we'll be talking, they'd be like, dang, you remember that? I'll be talking about something from when I was a toddler, like extra small, and I could see it as clear as day. They like, how you remember that? But I still remember stuff now, like thinking back to my father, and like even when I was a baby, he was still like barely out of the way. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, you got a wife, you got a kid. Hey, dog. You can't be flexing all the time out here. Chill out. But yeah, he had a little bit of reputation, but I saw the transformation. I was able to see like the tail end of that transformation. From him, my parents getting married in their early 20s and having me in their early 20s. And even to this day, I tell people that may have just met him recently, even my wife, and I'm like, man, that's a completely different man. I won't say completely different. I'm like, he's at the core, he's still Baby. That's his nickname. But I'm like, he don't smoke no more. He smoked like a chimney. Smoked around us. He quit at the drop of a dime. And then when we talk about innate things, I think about like habits when I talk about this before, like quitting stuff cold turkey. And I think about it, I'm like, dang, I did watch my dad quit smoking cold turkey. And he quit after I had my son. My grandson was like, his grandson, my son was like the motivating factor. Cold turkey, he'd been smoking since he was like 13. Over 20 years of chain smoking. And he just stopped.
That's
Then
crazy, bro.
weaned off, didn't take his time, didn't drop from, a pack to a couple a day. He just quit. And that made me think about, more recently, like, man, I've been able to just drop things like that. I quit drinking. I was like, that's it. Time don't matter. The history don't matter. It was like that motivated. So that's an innate thing I can think about now, man. And things that pop out of me sometimes, and I'll be like, oh, I ain't the one. When you get me there, Now you met baby. You met Junior. You got a problem. But today I will reference my father, my Lord and Savior, before I start acting out like that. Let me say
There you
that.
go. There you go.
See what you got. What you got in the gears. All I do, I'm saying, I'm looking right at you. All I see is the gears just spinning in your
Just
brain.
moving, bro. It's just moving
They're
right now.
moving. I see them, man.
So again, I'm loving the conversation and where we're going with communication. But Luna, you said something about having like these avenues and having the example or getting the example of doing it either this way or doing it that way. It's very, very reminiscent to what I said earlier about my dad. Again, there's only two ways of doing it: this way or this way, right? And given those guide rails, I want to ask a question for those individuals that are fathers that don't feel they hit the dad level just yet. What do you feel like is missing for individuals that aren't necessarily at the dad level that they would want to be at?
Well, this is divine intervention. I actually had a conversation with one of my homeboys about this before. So obviously I won't put his name out there or anything like that, but I'll describe the situation. Me and his baby mom, we have been friends, right? And she told me that he basically was not doing exactly what you're saying, being there. And I brought him over one time to the crib, and me and my other homeboy, because she texts both of us, and because she know me and him were real close. So we brought him over there and we had the conversation like, bro, what's going on? Like, talk to us. Keep it a buck. And he told us everything. And what it all really came down to for him, and I think this is very relatable for a lot of people, is sometimes we as men feel like we're lacking. And if we feel like we're lacking in a certain avenue, whether it's financially, it's probably the biggest one, or lacking in being able to be the correct role model or anything like that. And I told him, bro, and again, I'm not a father, but the first thing I told him, because I have had that feeling, is, bro, I said, man, that kid don't want nothing but your time. Nothing but your time. I said, bro, that kid don't care about what you buy, don't care about any of the words you say, anything. That kid just wants to be around you and wants to spend time with you. How do I know? Because that's the only thing I yearned for those years, from when I did not have my father till when I finally got my stepdad. I only yearned for, where is my dad? Where is he? Why is he not here? Why can't
And
I?
it was specific though, Coach. It wasn't just any time. It wasn't just any time. It was intentional time. Were you not just there in the same room holding your phone, scrolling on your phone while they doing something else in the same room, intentionally engaging with your kids and having a conversation with them about life, about whatever they want to talk about, whatever's interesting to them, whatever it is that they're gravitating toward, taking an interest in those things. And I always relate it back to, how'd you find your woman?
Facts. And it's funny that you say that, man. It's kind of like Nipsey said this. He said, how do you spell love? He said Time. And and I look at what after that conversation, and I'm not gonna say it was because of us, because that conversation literally came from him to tell him, hey, this is what you need to be doing. Bro, him and his daughter, they're inseparable.
It's a difference,
literally attached to it. So he don't do no partying, don't do nothing. But if his daughter got a game, if his daughter got anything going, bro, he gonna be there, bro. He gonna pick her up from school as much as he humanly can. He gonna ask about grades. They gonna talk. They are going to talk.
So
Man,
let's go back to something that you sent in our pod in our text message in our group chat. And I again, it's thank you, God. Just keep lining stuff up, yo. We're just gonna keep knocking it down. You put something in our chat and it said universal truths.
Mm.
It said things that you can see regardless of race, ethnicity, religion, gender, what have you, right? Gratitude and greed, anger and happiness, love and hate, joy and sadness, physical health, wealth and poverty. Doesn't matter your race, your creed, sex, doesn't matter. You
You know
will
exactly.
deal with any of these, right? I said something to you guys in the pod, and I didn't want to go too deep into it because I was like, I'm gonna save this. I'm gonna save this for the podcast. I'm gonna save this. And it was the parallels to this, to the dad and fathers conversation that we're gonna have later today. And the parallels that I saw in this is that as a father, and I'm gonna use the example that you gave, Coach Luna, with your buddy that you were talking about. As a father, you're more selfish, you're more greedy, you focus more on the anger side than you focus on the happiness side because you got to be tough because stuff is tough around you. You focus more on the sadness parts instead of the joyful parts. You take for granted those joyful situations. You probably ain't up on your physical health as much as you would like to be. Or maybe you are. And that's part of the reason why you're selfish because of the time. Wealth and poverty, right? How much, again, people talk about taking care of their kids, right? Like, are you paying to take care of the kids, right? Are you paying for school clothes and for food and stuff like that? So just regular stuff for them to live, or when I come around, we'll get you McDonald's every once in a while. Like that time again. I think when I think about fathers and when you sent that over, Coach Luna, the first thing that popped in my head was one side of the coin seems like the father that only shows the one side. Like, I'm only going to show you one side of each of these because there's only one
Mhm.
side of each of these. Whereas a dad is going to show you both sides of all of these emotions because he knows that they're ever changing and he knows that you're going to deal with all of them, not just the bulk of it, the 80% of it over here. The 80% of the time, things going to be hard. I flat out tell my kid all the time, I tell my son on a regular basis, life is hard. Life is going to get much harder from here. You have it very easy right now. So take advantage of where you are right now and enjoy the moments, enjoy the people, enjoy what you're doing, enjoy the process right now. Because things are going to get a little bit harder as you get into high school. Then it gets a little bit harder. You get into college or into your career or into trades or whatever you decide to do. It's going to get harder. The more you progress, the harder it's going to get. But how many of us have had those kind of conversations on a regular, consistent basis as we're going through life and listening to the change that's being taken place in your dad or father as they're going through the changes of life? Like, we got to understand how big of a process it is. And it's not as, again, when you hear somebody saying like, oh, they're just having babies, like, I feel sorry for those kids that are out there that just, it's a bunch of them and they don't have a dad or they don't have, a male figure or, a female figure that's in their life to really instill what it means to, be a good person and what it means to be a growing good person, I should say.
Mm.
If we're not doing that on a regular basis and showcasing that on a regular basis, you aren't failing just the kid, you failing yourself also. Like, everybody's gonna fail. That you might as well have the animalistic mentality at that point. Eat the baby. So
And a community without you and I.
facts, facts, facts. This was a lot to unpack. This was definitely a lot to unpack. Before we go, I have to ask this one question, and I'm gonna ask both of you guys. Luna, I already two-hand passes to you. You gave it back to me. I'm gonna two-hand passes to you, Coach Wash, because I have to ask this question and see if this is possible, if this is remotely possible. Now, for those individuals that, how do we want to say this? Are either feel like they're a good father. Can someone be a good father without being a good dad? And or vice versa?
Really, yeah, you can be a good father. You're not, if you can be a good father and you can be a good dad.
In the same vein?
You,
I'm not saying you can't. I'm just questioning. I want to know from
you can do both because a father is a donator. You're already donated to seed. You can definitely make a lot of money and contribute to that child's development financially. That's how I look at fatherhood. You're a provider, right? There's not necessarily love in that. There's duty and task. Supposed to.
has to.
Yeah, has to. It's
Checking the box.
obligations.
Checking the box.
A dad doesn't feel obligated. A dad wants to. A dad is love above all things. Love don't have a price tag on it. And when we talk about love and providing that time and pouring into that child, spending time with those crops, watering, tending to it, paying attention to the weather that's coming, making sure you prep for it ahead of time, forecast it, because your heart is there. That's been a dad. The constant concern, the constant fear, the constant worry, that's being a dad. You can definitely be a father and not be a dad, but you can be a father and be a dad. But above all things, even if you're short on the father piece, back to Luna's example with his buddy, don't let that hold you back from being a dad. You can't let that hold, because being a dad is the first priority.
That's greater than being a father, right?
It's greater than being a father, because just like with anything else, even if you don't have money, in general, not even just being a father, like if your household, your family, you, your wife, you as a child, whatever the case may be, you got aunties and uncles all living under the same roof. When you have community and unity and that's all established and rooted in love, y'all got everything you need to grow from there. A lot can happen when you moving together, right? So it's crazy how you did the parallel, and I'm probably going a little bit longer than what you was planning for me to go with this question.
No, not at
You
all.
go. I'm tuned in.
Like with the parallels, man, I identify with this so much. I've definitely been in a place like being a dad has always been first for me. And one of the hardest things for me to hear as a dad was, "Dad, you don't smile much." And then I was like, "Really?" Or, "You working all the time." Now everybody on Steve know when my babies was babies, I had them everywhere. I packed them up quick. We going to your godfather house. We going to Steve, your godfather Steve house. They got 2 godfathers. I'm like, you
Yep.
going to your godfather Brian house. We finna go. We was all over the place. I had them
We're
with me
all over the
when I
place.
was coaching. If the mama couldn't watch them, she had something to do.
They on the field.
It's on the field. Or they be with Mama Buford. I just
Yep.
dropped them off over at
Yep.
Steve's parents' crib. Cause they lived close to the high school we was coaching at. I always had them with me, but like, yeah, that struck me hard, and cause I had got to a point when they was growing up. I was just going through a lot, and that modeling piece is so important. They're sponges, man. It ain't just what you say, like
What
how
you
you
do. Yep.
they energy. Children measure energy too, like your body language is jumping off of you. We done had some serious talks, about me and their mom at one point, and just like the talks at the age they were at that we were having, it was just like it hit me. It hit me hard. It was like I've been seeing this in you. Our kids telling me like they seeing all the bad pieces in me. I'm giving them time. We having good times together, but they also can tell when daddy faking the funk too.
Yeah, man.
Not
See,
Now,
not necessarily faking it. They know I love them, but
they know you're not here. They know
yeah, they know the
you're
energy
not
that I'm
here.
trying
Right.
to bring to the table while I'm with them. They know that I'm still dealing with something else, or I'm
Yep.
battling other things. Like they one of the main reasons I had to start going to therapy.
Because they see it before you see it.
And then their little cousin said, I had niece and nephew, smaller than him. Uncle L, why you don't smile? Dang.
It's a problem. It's like, I gotta start
Boom.
smiling.
Boom.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you have to, I'll say this, if you know better, you gotta work to do better so you can show better.
Man.
because man, I can't answer that question because you
Well,
answered.
I got a different question for you, coach.
Let me see if we're gonna parallel this. I was gonna go into the perspective of the child and the one that remembers
Please give me that
the,
perspective.
the ripple effect.
Mm.
You said the showing and the modeling. I learned so much from indirect parenting. What I mean is, I learned so much from seeing so and so about to get hit with a Ric Flair slap on the back because he did this. And so I'm, well, parallel, I ain't gonna do that because I don't know if they gonna do that to me at home, or my uncle getting on my cousin's butt about cleaning up the house and doing things a certain way at a certain time, leaving things a certain way. I'm like, well, okay, well, I don't want to get in trouble for that, so I'm not gonna do that. It was so many ripple effect things that I was like, nah, I don't want to do that. I don't want them repercussions.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna go ahead. But the thing that was consistent discipline. Discipline, bro. We cannot, as men, get away from that. That is in the book. That is a message of love. Now,
Yeah.
there's a way of doing it, and that's where it got kind of carried away. But now they put everything under this umbrella of toxic masculinity, bro. There is no such thing as toxic masculinity. It's masculinity or femininity. That's it. There's nothing toxic about it. There are people that go overboard over here, just like they got people overboard over there. All right. So let's wash that word and terminology gone already. But that ripple effect, man, is gigantic, man. That's why that
Real.
community and with everything that y'all been saying, it's just like, bro, I'm sitting here and I'm reflecting. I'm like, man, my aunts, my friends' parents, my cousins, like my sister, I've seen all these parent figures, and I'm understanding like the importance of that community and the importance of teaching and the importance of modeling, because I remember. I remember.
It's stuck. It's ingrained in you now.
Yeah.
And gives you clear direction. So here's the question that I have for you. And I purposely saved this question for you because of the situation that you are in, sir. You're the only one on this podcast that don't have any children right now. And not having any children, well, you got a plethora of children that at school.
I'm about to say I got like
I was about to say,
Go out like 20 of them.
teachers
20
and coaches,
like 200, 300.
you already a dad.
already.
I fathered a couple, but I'm a dad of many.
Exactly. So that said, Luna, this is a special question for you because you're going to see it from a different perspective. What are some things and people that have helped change the perspective or give you the blueprint of what it is that you want to be as a father the day you become a father?
Coaches, man. Coaches, and my friends' dads. Like I said, man, the thing that I noticed the most growing up is that these men didn't take their role for granted. Like every single one of them treated us like as one of their kids. And we get in some households, if you wore the shoes into the wrong house and you wore them shoes upstairs, who wore them shoes upstairs? And somebody gonna get told on. It's not gonna be a good conversation that's gonna get had, but it was that level of respect that we had for our elders. And it was that and it was almost like fear, bro. Like, I'm not gonna disrespect this man because I'm not gonna get my ass beat. You know what I'm saying? And I still want to come over to his house. Like, I enjoy being around my friends, so I'm not finna just be. I can't act a fool in this house. Like, there's rules that I need to follow if I want to come back to this house. I enjoy it. This is my place of hanging out with my friends. I don't have my stepbrother didn't live with me, so it's either and then my sister got married, so I'm by myself. You know what I'm saying? So then when they gravitated towards football, like, I'm around my teammates all the time. So that coaches, man, they played a gigantic role. And that's leading me to this point that I wanted to get off my chest. You can't, as a parent, you can't expect a coach or a teacher to teach you the things that you're supposed to be teaching at home, because I don't have enough time to teach them the basic fundamentals and basic foundation that they should already have learned from you, because I got 300 of these. I can't sit here and just pour into one job, because now I got 299 that ain't getting
fed.
And I think what has gotten lost in translation is that people think all coaches are built the same. I'm telling you right now, there ain't too many coaches that's doing how we have coached and pour into the amount of kids that we have tried to pour into, and we still didn't reach as many as we could have, right? So knowing that it is your responsibility as a parent, it is your responsibility as whatever role that you are, it is your responsibility to teach and model. And that model piece is I'm gonna say it, the model piece is the biggest. The model piece is the biggest, bro.
Walk it like you talk it.
Because I'm gonna remember everything that you said, but I'm gonna also look at you and be like, "Are you a hypocrite?" And I've met a few hypocrites when they go ahead and tell me stuff. I'm like, "Child, please, child, please. I ain't listening to you for what? You're lying to me." That's how I'm looking at it. You lying to me because you're not doing it. You cannot take that modeling piece lightly. You know, that modeling piece is gigantic, bro.
You know what's really cool about that, coach? The more you coach kids, you'll see it as they start to progress, because they're going to start coming back to you and telling you how much you meant and what you've done to help instill them and get them to the next level. There's still kids today. I shouldn't say kids, still grown men now, that me and Coach Wash started coaching when they were freshmen, sophomore, freshmen and sophomores that still hit us up to this day. And that bond is still there because we walked the walk and talked the talk.
And
It's
continue.
something, and continued it. There it is. And continue to display that method of practicing what you preach. I think that's the biggest thing, is being consistent and being intentional in what you're trying to practice and preach to everybody.
I think as men, we get too caught up in our own trophy cases, in our own trophy room, that once we feel like we've accomplished something, bro, it's like, I can tell you everything based off everything that I've done. Okay, but what are you doing now?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Because your experience was working for a world then. Yep. What can you teach me about the world now and how to navigate this water? Because the water now is a lot
very different.
Water then.
Very different. Very
aside
different.
from what you did, not aside from it, speaking on what you did, I believe in keeping it real with your children. So it ain't all the stuff you did well or are doing well or plan to do well.
Yeah, the fails.
You can say, Daddy messed up right here. There was a time where this or that or the third, or even something that they witnessed. You have to show accountability and be okay with confessing to them.
Was it 2
Then
pods ago?
that teaches them to be honest and accountable and how to have a good moral compass too. Be like, yeah, that was off. That wasn't the right move. That's on me. That's poor coaching. That's me. That's me. Yeah, that you have to have those conversations. That's something I was very I always have been intentional about with my kids. Like, yeah, Daddy did this, Daddy did that, or that wasn't the best move. My dad, I could have did this better. I could have handled this better. I could have, whatever. You got to have those real conversations too. You can't just talk about, oh, this is the way you go because we did this, and when I did it, that took me
right
here. Ooh, no. Ain't nothing in life that smooth. Like, no, talk about all the in between. Give them the crap.
The house is broken.
Yeah.
The house is broken.
You gotta have all that, because when you talk about disciplining, you have to talk about how you are being disciplined. Discipline them, but you have to show being disciplined too. You have to show the ability to adjust and readjust, how to overcome adversity. All of that goes into the dad thing, because there's no self in that role. There's no self in that role. That's a whole.
You gotta be selfless.
Matter of fact, I'm gonna give you a perfect example of the sacrifice dads make. The ultimate sacrifice is Luna's example of his model. Coaches. And we talked about families before with coaches and how much time they don't spend with their own family.
Yep.
I want to tell all you athletes out there that may listen, and to the coaches too, the sacrifice that coaches make to be a dad to many and sacrifice time with the ones they have fathered. It's a calling.
Yep, to pour into the many.
It's a calling. There's a lot you give, and the reason why I brought my babies with me at times early on in the game when I first started doing it, thankfully they understood and they enjoy watching Daddy at work at times. But there's a lot of time that you don't give back at the crib. It's a lot of sacrificing. So I definitely want to speak on that. For Luna, example as a model, yeah, the coaches really be out here being a dad to many. So y'all
Facts.
need, man, gratitude, please. But it's a true calling. And man, it's so much I can go on about this talk. This so heavy.
It is because it's in the vein of coaching, yo. It's in the
Yeah,
vein of coaching, which is
yeah.
again all of our passions. This is the reason why we started the podcast, because we enjoy and love coaching that much. Where doesn't matter if we're doing it on the football field or in the boardroom. Like, I want to coach because I want to win, because I want us to win. I think that's more important than I think that's the most important piece, is
Yeah.
that I don't think we are looking for wins. I think we are looking for others to win. Like we're looking for you to build your W. Again, we always say again, the brand about building your brand, right?
Coach, it almost sounds like that's the difference between a dad and a father.
Man, look at that parallel. Look at
Because
that parallel.
I want you to win.
Because it's been about me for umpteenth years. Now it needs to be about you. That's the parallel. That's a great way to end the pod right there, Coach Luna. Where again, you line us up right now, dropping some more dimes right now. Again, giving us a parallel of being selfish and being selfless. That's the difference between being a dad and a father.
That's beautiful.
Man. Well, there's only two other things to do right now. You got these bars, bro? Because if you don't got these bars, we're gonna have to hang it up.
I'm actually repeat one because I think it's
Fitting.
lines up. It's actually I did this probably a year ago.
Parallel.
Yeah,
It
we
runs
gonna repeat.
parallel to this.
So going back, I'm hanging on to man, the big piece with Luna talking about just the memories and us talking about children being sponges. And yeah, let me leave this with you. Because when I wrote this actually came from me reminiscing on my childhood. So, scars leave everlasting pains burned into your brain. A child's purity and innocence are removed like biting apple seeded with evil, destroying beliefs in Santa Claus, filling heads with man's laws, and silencing hearts like locked jaws. I'm sorry this would not pause. You will never enjoy the benefits of ignorance. Loss is available for you to reminisce. Can your heart survive the defense mechanism that takes away hope, takes away the ability to believe in good? Virtues are not destroyed in the presence of evil. Don't let the world's manipulation deceive you. Let your virtues shine through and make them believe you.
Boss.
Follow that up.
I ain't following that up. I'm following that up. I ain't writing nothing for this occasion. It's all
do not be a parent that creates scars for your child. Don't be the source of your child's scars.
And if you do, heal them up.
Yeah.
Provide them with the armor needed, just as the good Lord gives us.
Yes, sir.
So hopefully we learned something today. I know I consistently learn something every time we jump on these pods. One that I can't follow bars like that, Coach Wash. That's one thing I always learn. And two, this gives us a deeper understanding of where and what we need to continuously grow into for everybody else. Like, it's consistently every time that we have a conversation, I find a deeper layer that I can go into, at least, to be a better person for everybody. So
it's a community, bro. You ain't going by yourself.
absolutely, bro. Absolutely. I know y'all growing. You running 13 miles, bro. I'm not running 13 miles. I'll get in my car. I'll just drive to the store. Pick up my groceries. That's what we'll do. We'll make sure. Yeah, that's how we'll clock our 13 miles. Now, I'll do my run, but I'm not doing 13. So you get me out there on a Spartan race, you got to drag me the rest of the way, bro. That's community.
That's why.
that's community.
Yeah.
Again, if you like what you heard, smack that like and subscribe button if you want to hear more from your Coach Life fam. Again, hit this merch up. Some new merch coming soon. Some winter gear coming soon.
Hoodie game.
Hoodie game. Go ahead and get your hoodie game up. Should be up soon on the YouTube channel. Hopefully, you should get that merch up on the YouTube channel soon. Yeah, I'm pressing you, bro. I'm pressing you hard right now. Like you the one that got to do it all, right?
Hey,
pressing you hard right now. He's like, I'm still in football season, bro. Stop it. Again, if you like what you heard, smack that like, subscribe button. As always, family, stay positive, my friends.